careful, please. That elite was an ultra.
Okay, you may remember my video about Mormonism secretly being an ancient Sumerian fertility cult. And I forgot to mention, why is it a fertility cult in that video? So, today we're going to be talking about how, like, Hindus worship Shiva's manhood, Shiva's peen, or whatever you want to call it. And it's a little weird, they like pour milk on it. Very strange indeed. Or is it strange at all? Strange topic, certainly. But that's what we're all about here, is strange perspectives when it comes to the gospel. So, we talked about this god of the Sumerian cults or whatever, whose name was Enki or Ea or Edim. What is he god of? He is Lord of the waters. He is Lord of the fish. In these ancient carvings of him, he's always portrayed with these two little fish next to him. And you could say, okay, so he's Lord of the fish. But obviously he's Lord of the fish, but I don't think that's the most important part of what is trying to be said with those fish. It's been argued that this is symbolic of essentially male fertility, which is very curious, and maybe you could even go as schizo as to say, you know, there used to be ancient civilizations, ancient high civilization, and they had microscopes, and so that knowledge was lost over time. You know, fish became symbolic of male fertility. Maybe that's a bridge too far, but it's an interesting thought. It's a thought that I've had. I was reminded of this because Secret Teachings of All Ages book, but there's just way too much to talk about, and I got bogged down making a big video, so I've been making lots of small videos instead. But there's a quote that reminded me that I had forgotten to talk about this. So it says, "In nearly all the sacred books of the world can be traced an anatomical analogy. This is most evident in their creation myths. Anyone familiar with embryology and obstetrics will have no difficulty in recognizing the basis of the allegory concerning Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden, the 9 degrees of the Eleusinian mysteries, and the Brahmanic legend of Vishnu's incarnations, the story of the universal egg, the Scandinavian myth of Guningagap, the dark cleft in space in which the seed of the world is sown, and the use of the fish as the emblem of the paternal generative power, all show the true origin of logical speculation." And so, it's the use of the fish as an emblem of the paternal generative power. When I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I was just reading this paper about Edim, and he's the Lord of the Fish, and they have a carving of him, and he's got the fishes next to him. And so I made that connection. I thought it was really interesting. And we're still talking about Manly P. Hall. He even specifically disavows, like, the Book of Mormon in his book. So I hate to overuse him, but there's just so much interesting insight into this world of esoterica, and I feel like it's just a good thing. I need to stop defending my use of him because I think he's cool, and if you don't think he's cool, then go watch some other YouTube channel, okay? Big deal. But he talks about another guy who's the same type of Freemason as him. It's like the Rosy Cross people, the Rosicrucians, and his name is Jennings, I believe. Yeah, he says, "The idea that phallic symbolism occupies an important place in early Jewish mysticism is indisputable. Hargrave Jennings sees in the figure of Adam a type of the Lingam of Shiva, which was a stone representative of the creative power of the world generator." And that's that little idol that the Hindus pour milk on. That's what he's talking about. It's not very graphic or gross. It's just like a little bump that they pour the milk on it. "In Gregory's works," writes Jennings, "is a passage to the effect that Noah daily prayed in the ark before the body of Adam, i.e. before the phallus. Adam, being the primitive phallus, great procreator of the human race, it may possibly seem strange," he says, "that this origin should be daily said before the body of Adam, but it is a most confessed tradition among the Eastern men that Adam was commanded by God that his dead body should be kept above ground till a fullness of time should come to commit it to the middle of the earth by a priest of the Most High God. This means Mount Moriah, the Meru of India. This body of Adam was embalmed and transmitted from father to son, till at last it was delivered up by Lamech into the hands of Noah. And so that's a very bizarre statement, worshipping the phallus or something like that. And phallus doesn't necessarily mean boy parts so much as it just means generative parts of either one. But in modern times, it means one specific thing. Anyway, that's a really weird idea that's in Jewish mysticism, the idea of worshiping Adam, the idea of worshiping his paternal procreative role. Maybe it's been corrupted into literally worshiping, this Lingam of Shiva style praying before the phallus, as this Hargrave Jennings guy puts it. And yeah, he has a couple more things to say about this Hargrave Jennings guy. I'll just read them really quick. It says, in the ritualism of the early Jewish mysteries, the pageantry of creation was enacted. The various actors impersonating the creative agencies. The red dirt from which the Adamic man was fashioned may signify fire, particularly since Adam is related to Yod, or fire flame, which is the first letter of the sacred name Jehovah. In John, it is written that the temple was 46 years in the building, a statement in which St. Augustine sees a secret and sacred gematria, for according to the Greek philosophy of numbers, the numerical value of the name Adam is 46. Adam thus becomes the type of the temple, for the house of God, like primitive man, was a microcosm or epitome of the universe. In the mysteries, Adam is accredited with having the peculiar power of spiritual generation. Instead of reproducing his kind by the physical generative processes, he caused to issue from himself, or more correctly, to be reflected upon substance, a shadow of himself. The shadow he then ensouled, and it became a living creature. Anyway, very interesting quotes there that feel very Mormon. They feel very endowment-y. And you gotta squint your eyes. I'm not saying that you don't have to squint your eyes and maybe put on some blurry lenses to see the connections there. But the pageantry of creation was enacted in the early Jewish mysteries. The various actors impersonating the creative agencies, And then he has this picture of Noah's Ark, and that it's supposed to be representative of a body. And it's like a big coffin-looking thing. And each of the sections of the ark is associated with something with the zodiac, and we know that the different things of the zodiac are associated with different parts of the body. But anyway, he says, the early church father, notably Tertullian, Firmilian, Saint Cyprian, Saint Augustine, and Saint Chrysostom, recognized in the ark a type or symbol of the Holy Catholic Church. And if you're not aware, the part of the church where everyone sits, the body of the church in a cathedral, is called the nave or the nave, which is Latin for boat. It's literally the Noah's Ark word. So Bede the Venerable declared that Noah in all things typified Christ, as Noah alone of his generation was just. So Christ alone was without sin. With Christ there was a sevenfold spirit of grace, with Noah 7 righteous persons. Noah by water and wood saved his own family. Christ by baptism and the cross saves all Christians. The ark was built of wood that did not decay. The church is composed of men who will live forever, for this ark means the church which floats upon the waves of the world. So that's the comment that's here with this diagram about the ark, which is divided into the different sections. And it says, a study of the plate discloses the ark to be divided into 11 main sections. Along the base and roof of each section are shown 3 subdivisions, thus making in all the sacred number 33. Occupying the position corresponding to the generative system of the human body will also be noted the cross upon the door of the central section. 2 openings are shown in the ark. One, the main door representing the orifice through which the animal lives descend into physical existence. The other, a small window proximate to the crown or head through which the spirit gains liberty according to the ancient rites. And I don't know what Manly P. Hall is even talking about, I'll be honest. But from a Mormon perspective, it sounds like the ark is a sort of temple, and you enter in at the feet, and you go through the ark until you receive the final rites in the head. And the animals of the ark were led through from chamber to chamber in this ark. Now, I don't know if Noah was leading animals around in the temple or not. That's not what I'm trying to say. I just think that it's interesting that someone is saying this at all about the ark, that it's kind of like this weird temple with chambers and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, can't just believe everything Manly P. Hall says. It's not the Church of Manly P. Hall, but I do like to cherry pick certain things that he says and use them for different arguments. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, well, that's interesting or whatever, but what does that have to do with Mormonism and Joseph Smith? That's so weird. It's so weird that you would say that. It actually has everything to do with it. And certain detractors, certain famous anti-Mormons, run circles around your average member of the church because they're able to mock this. And no better example is found than in the CES letter, where they mock the Book of Abraham. Because you see, in facsimile 3 in the Book of Abraham, Joseph Smith said that there's a guy who's heavenly father, but actually, with facts and logic, Egyptologists have proven Joseph Smith wrong, because they used their facts and logic. One of the most disturbing facts I discovered in my research of facsimile 2 is figure number 7. Joseph Smith said that this is God sitting upon his throne. It's actually Min, the pagan Egyptian god of fertility or sex. Min is sitting on a throne with an erect peen, which can be seen in the figure. In other words, Joseph interpreted this figure with an erect peen is Heavenly Father sitting on his throne. What? Owned! Prophet proven wrong! Prophet proven wrong! I proved the prophet wrong! Okay, so that's why we have to talk about the Lingam of Shiva. Because I guarantee that if Jeremy Reynolds was going to talk about the Lingam of Shiva, he'd be like, OMG, that's so cool. These Hindu people, oh my gosh, wow. Well, wow, they're so cool. Anyway, it's all so tiresome. But Joseph Smith was right. That may very well be Min, a fertility god. Maybe that is some sort of lingam or something in the drawing. Min sitting on a throne with an erect lingam. With an erect peen. And that's like gross. That's like corn. Which I actually don't think is bad because I left the church. But I'm saying this so that I can make you uncomfortable. Whoa! That's like corn cobs. Which I know will make you uncomfortable because you're deeply religious and I am not. So, it's actually awesome. In this figure, the Egyptologists may actually be right. It may actually be Min, a pagan fertility god of sex. If you click on Min and go to the Wikipedia page, wow, it has a god, and he's got like, he's looking happy, and he's got a flail in his hand. It's a flail, and he's holding his arm at a right angle. He's dark-skinned, though. Big whoops. Joseph Smith proven wrong. He's got dark skin. Oh my gosh. Testimony gone. Jokes. Anyway, it very well may be Min. But I think that Min is probably a corruption of the worship of the Father. I mean, I guess it's a little graphic, but that is what fathers are, so you're not one of those people who say that doesn't make you a man, right? So you better not be one of those people. Let's just ditch our Victorian whatever and realize that Joseph Smith is probably right. That's why this matters, is because when you understand this, suddenly the CS letter is meaningless. That's why we're talking about Shiva's lingam. And now you know. So what are you saying? Are you saying that if Joseph Smith asked you to worship an Egyptian boner god, you would do it? Yes. That is what I'm saying. But you're not being honest. Basically, you're just saying that whatever Joseph Smith says is true. Yes, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying, all hail the Egyptian boner god, okay? That's what I'm saying. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's not that crazy. It's the idea of nature. We've talked about nature. There's this great video on what is nature. It's not the green stuff. It's the generative power. It's these processes that go on that God kicked in motion. And when you start to understand the symbolism of this, and as Adam, Michael the archangel, as the father of humanity, who kick-started these generative processes that the ancients referred to as nature, it starts to not be so weird. And a lot of things start to make a lot of sense. One of the big ones for me is bullock daggers. I don't know if you've ever heard of bullock daggers, but they're a knife that was popular in Europe for like 500 years with poor people and rich people. It's cross-cultural, across many European cultures, and across all sorts of classes, language. We have these bullock daggers, and it looks like a very manly dagger. We'll say it. That's what it looks like. When these things start to click for you, it starts to make sense. You know, when we talk about these daggers, a lot of people talk about them and they say, oh, well, it's just like a rude joke. It's like a middle school, haha, tee-hee, funny dagger, haha. Let's wear it on the front of our belt buckle for 500 years. Oh, look, the king's doing it too. Haha, haha, funny. I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. A 500-year-long bathroom joke? Really? I don't think so. Yeah, for 500 years, cross-culturally, a bunch of deeply religious Christian people were making wiener knives and wearing them on their belt buckle. Yeah, no, the poor people did it. Yeah, and the rich people did it too. Really, everyone was doing it. Yeah, it was really funny. You'd think that the joke would stop being funny, but it didn't. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's a joke. It is, okay, it is pretty funny when you look at some of these manuscripts. They're like religious manuscripts that were painted by super religious monks who were celibate for life. And, you know, they're painting little pictures of a guy and he's plucking himself a nice little basket of spotted dick. Or there's all sorts of weird drawings of riding like weird phallic rabbit things, and it's very strange. It's on these illuminated manuscripts that were made by monks, and it's like, ha, they were celibate. Ooh, they were frustrated. Hee 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 hee. And it's like, maybe not. That seems, I mean, the drawings are pretty good, especially considering all the effort that they would have had to get like the paints and maintain their brushes and stuff. And like, really, you're gonna draw like bathroom graffiti on the side of your book? I don't think so. I mean, it looks funny, but the idea of this fruit, you know, it's the fruit, you're picking it, it's nature. I like to think of it more as a symbol of nature, a symbol of the generative process. It's Prometheus, you know, it's the engineers, and they drink the black goo, and that creates the humans. That's how we got to think about it. And I think it makes a lot of things make sense, and I think what makes even more sense is why certain things have been degraded to the lowest of the low. It's bathroom stall graffiti, and everything about this symbol, in a sense, has been distorted and turned into something that it just is not. It actually is something that's very sacred. And it is our greatest gift. You know, it's our greatest gift that God has given us. And when we abuse it for our own pleasures or for whatever reason and interrupt this generative process that we have inherited from our Father, and we abuse it for our own pleasures, it's a really blasphemous thing. And I think that it just makes sense why the world is the way that it is. It makes sense why we dedicate so much money to learning how to, you know, cut these things off safely. Why billions of dollars get poured into researching how to correct toxic masculinity, because these things have got to be stopped. And when you look at good design versus bad design, Sam Hyde went to like a fancy design school, and he talks a lot about car design, and it's pretty funny, but like, you know, cars, like all the sports cars, they're so phallic or whatever, and he gets really mad because one of these famous Japanese cars got redesigned by a woman. When you look at it, it's got like a bunch of V's all over it, and it's V for girl power. That's what he suspects, and I think that he's right. And so there is this anti-phallus culture in the car design world, and I think it's because they hate it. They hate it. They want it They want it gone. How loyal are you to Joseph Smith? Would you follow him to heaven or hell? Do you so swear? Swear loyalty to the Egyptian boner god. Your prophet demands it. That's enough fun for today. Now you know why it's not that weird to worship the Lingam of Shiva. And obviously don't do that. You don't know what's going to happen if you do that. So those are your thoughts on fish and the generative system and the idea of worshiping Adam as the originator of the world's procreative power. Anyway, hope that was enlightening. Have a good one. Stay faithful.